Hi everybody, my name is Jim and welcome back to a brand new episode of Make Do Mondays. Some of you out there might be avid candle users. I know that I am. I love to have a candle going. Just the ambiance of it, sometimes just for the look of it, sometimes for the smell of it, if you are into scented candles. If you're not, if you use them once in a while, this could still be a great kind of a video for you because this is all about reusing your old candles, okay? Using the wax from your candles. Now, you might be in a situation where you use pillars, okay? And then you get down to this last little piece, okay, that, you know, might not be of great use to you. Or you might be a jar candle user, in which case you get to the very bottom of it and you've got this little bit of wax, but the wick doesn't work anymore because, you know, it's pretty much spent. So I would like to show you what you can do to reuse these little pieces of wax. Now, I've got a whole lot of stuff here, and these are kind of the ingredients that you will need in order to reuse your old candles. Now, I have I have a big container of spent pillars and just pieces of wax that I have collected along the way. And I know it's a little weird to have this, but if you're reusing candle wax, it's great to just get a container started and start throwing stuff in there, because once the container gets filled up, then you'll be able to do projects with them. And there's always going to be plenty on hand if you need it. So this tub is filled with various different waxes. It's very scented. I'm smelling notes of holly berry, lavender, patchouli, and whatnot, and of course just wax. So I have this. I also have an old jar, all right, chopsticks, and I always keep my chopsticks whenever I order any type of Asian cuisine that comes with it. I always hang on to them. I've got droves of them, but you never know what you're going to use them for. I've got some string, a pair of scissors. I also have an old tin can. Okay, I'll explain what this is all about in a little bit. I have an old paper egg carton. I have some wax paper. And then in this tin, I have dryer lint. Now, I'm sure some of you probably will know what the dryer lint's for. We will get to that in a moment. I also have a plate here, okay, that I'm going to be utilizing. This is a lovely one that my mother got me. It's Hotel Astor. Has a pretty design, but she always gets me things like this because of the fact that it is buffalo china. So, the first thing that needs to be done before you start any of your projects is you have to start melting your wax. And that is what the tin can is for. Now, I've got a larger tin can. You can use a smaller tin can, depending on what your project is. But there are a lot of things that I've got going on here that I want to show you. So I chose a larger tin can. And the first thing I'm going to show you with this is you're just going to gently squeeze the top. Okay? This is because when you squeeze the top, and this is why I would use a tin can instead of maybe another, like a glass container or something else. A, you're going to get wax in this. It's not going to be able to go anywhere. Okay. B, you can pinch the top, and now you have 2 pour spouts. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over to the stove. I'm going to show you 2 different methods, okay, of melting your wax, because you're going to have to melt it in order to do your projects. And then we'll get stuck in on the projects. So let's go over there. So as you know, I have a very old stove. This is from the 1940s. And what I love about this stove is the fact that it has 2 separate elements on the top. So I've got my normal gas range over here, and then over here I have a cast iron kind of side here that has its own heating element underneath it. Okay, so this is really, really great. All I do is I lift the top here and give it a light, and then this really acts as its own separate heating element. Now normally what I would do is I would light this side and I would do all the activities that I'm going to be showing you on this side, but because I'm sure most of you out there do not have something like this, we're going to stick to the regular range. And what you will need for this is some kind of a pan. Okay, now you can use stainless steel, you can use aluminum. I'm going to use cast iron. Okay, the reason why I liked using cast iron is because the fact that it warms slowly and it warms evenly. But if you have, you know, the modern take of all of this, you can still control the heat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the range on here, okay, and I'm going to turn it on really, really, really low. All right, and then I'm going to place my cast iron pan on top of that. Okay, like I said, any pan will work. Just make sure that you keep it on a really, really, really low heat. That's really important. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I've got my jar candle here with the wax that's sitting here at the bottom. I'm going to place that on top, and I'm also going to do the same with the tin can. Okay, so the goal for the jar is to melt the wax down completely. Okay, you want to be able to pour the wax out. All right. This is going to be the wax receptacle, and this is where I'm going to be putting in all of my little pieces of wax that I have collected. Okay, I'm just going to throw them in there. If these have wicks on them, the old little pieces of a pillar candle, it's not a big deal. When we go to pour everything, the wick tends to float to the bottom, so you'll be fine. Not float, sink is the word. So I'm just going to throw a bunch of wax in here. Okay, I'm just going to be careful not to get any. If you can see, I dropped a little bit on the cast iron. Not a big deal, I'll be able to wipe that off. The cast iron, again, for other purposes is really wonderful for using for this, because as cast iron goes, you season it, and it becomes impermeable when it comes to, you know, cooking things. That's why they're so great when it comes to not sticking. So I'm going to let this, I got to wipe that off. And then I'm going to get this all melted. And the first thing I'm going to show you before we get into making anything is how to collect your wax out of your glass jars or containers. Okay, so as you can see, the wax in here is completely melted now. Sorry, get that in the shot. Okay, and what I've done is I've taken a couple of pieces of wax paper. All right, I doubled up the layer and I put it on this plate, something that has edges that go up a little bit, and I would choose either something metal or something ceramic, like china, like that, okay? And then all you do, pour out your wax. Okay, there's a lot of burnt black bits in here from the wick being trimmed constantly. It's not a big deal, but now we've gotten all of the wax out of this jar. Okay, we can keep the jar and use it for other things. So it won't take very long, but this wax is going to dry, and I'll show you how easy it is to remove it. So you can see it's starting to dry just the slightest bit on the edges here. And you can see a circle of that, of the old wick and whatnot, the carbon. So if you're not into that black stuff in there, all you need to do at this point is carefully, oops, tip it out. Do it slowly, folks. I'm lucky enough to have an enamel top table, okay? So when I just spilled the wax over the side a little bit, it's no big deal. It comes right off, okay? So I'm gonna let this dry a little bit more. Okay, so this has had time to set a little bit. And what's really nice about the waxed paper is that, if you can see this, you can see how easily it's already starting to come off. Okay, look at that. So, once you've given it ample time to dry, you can go ahead. This is a really gratifying part. Start taking the old wax off the wax paper. You get to a really good chunky part right here. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. See, it's coming right off. All right, this could probably stand to dry for a couple more minutes. It happens really, really fast. And this is a scented candle, so there are oils in it. Okay. Yeah, this is still rather waxy. This is not a clean job, guys. This is a messy job. So I'm gonna leave this for a couple more minutes and then I'll show you what it looks like. I have to say, this is a Christmas candle. Okay, it's bayberry, so my house smells like Christmas. But anyways, so I've gotten most of the wax off and now I've just formed it into a ball. Now you could form it into a ball while it's still a little bit pliable, has a little bit of texture to it, or you can let it completely dry and then it comes off in huge chunks. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this in the tin can with the rest of the melted wax that I have. In you go. So the wax is about 1/2 inch from the top, okay? And it's been slowly melting down. Now, this is the first use for the old chopsticks. Now, you don't have to use chopsticks. You could use, you know, go find a twig in the backyard. It really doesn't matter. But these are really, really handy nonetheless. Okay, hopefully you'll think twice about getting rid of them. I know a lot of my gardener friends don't like to get rid of stuff like this because they make nice little mini stakes, or, you know, you can use them to kind of prick out your seedlings and stuff like that. But they are really ideal for this project, okay? And, you know, once you're done using them, and this is something, you know, that I do myself, I know this is not something that's going to be a one and done. I'm going to continue collecting my wax and do different projects with it. So you could actually hang on to these chopsticks and make them your official wax stirrers, wax things, okay? All right, now since that wax that I just put in here was relatively soft, it's melted down pretty quick. Okay, just remember when you're working with wax, be sure to not, you know, take something like this and throw it on a piece of wood or, you know, on something where the wax is going to come off. Put it on a surface like wax paper or aluminum foil or something like that so that you don't get your surfaces all messed up. Okay, that feels good. Now, let us begin our projects. All right. Another lovely thing about cast iron is that not only does it disperse the heat evenly, but it also continues to hold the heat after you've taken it off the range. So this is perfect for something like this because I want to keep the wax in liquid form. Okay, so first project that we're going to do is using an egg container. Okay, make sure please that it is a paper one. Very, very important. 12 cells, okay, dozen eggs. Then I'm going to take my great big tin of dryer lint and I'm going to take chunks of it, put them inside each one of these little cells. Okay, and don't be shy. Oh. And what we're doing is we are making fire starters. So if you have a fireplace, which you know that I do, or you like to have bonfires, stuff like that, this is a wonderful thing to have, okay? And it works really, really, really well. So I'm shoving this dryer lint inside each of the cells, very colorful, very dusty. Okay. And then all you have to do, now before I do this, like I said, this tabletop is enamel, so it's not going to really affect if I get any wax on it. But just the same, I'm going to put some wax paper down here just to protect. Okay, all you have to do now is take your wax. All right. And this is where using the tin can is really good because you can make that pointy little downspout. And you're just going to pour your wax into, I'm afraid this container has too much wax in it. There we go. Pour your wax into the cells. It's kind of going all over the place. No big deal. All right, let's get a little bit more over here. Oops, see, that's why you should put down a protective layer. Oh, it's looking very, very colorful. Okay, put this right here. Look at that. Now, dryer lint in general is extremely flammable, okay? And a lot of the times what I'll do is I keep a small bag next to my dryer, and every time I empty the lint trap, I take it and I shove it in the bag until it gets full, and then I'll empty it into a tin. And then what I'll usually do instead of doing this method, which is very transportable, okay? I will just take a huge wad of it and just shove it into the fireplace. But the problem with that is that the lint goes up really, really fast, okay? It's really hot and it burns super fast and it goes out really fast. What this is gonna do is, not only because it's made out of paper, but because it has the candle wax in it, these will burn longer, okay? So we're gonna let these dry. I think I might put a little bit more wax in here. But since they're engulfed in wax, they will take a longer time to burn. They make really, really wonderful little fire starters. Okay, so let's let this dry. Ideally, you want it to cure for about 24 hours before you use them. I'm gonna just give it the old cursory try because usually I will make it and then just leave it alone until I need it. But I kind of want to show you guys how this works. So I'm going to leave this for a little bit and then we will come back and I will show you, you know, what to do. What's the next step? It's really cool. They work really, really well. Once this has had a minute to dry, okay, and like I said, it's usually best if you let it cure overnight, but you know what? I threw it in the refrigerator, okay? Then what you do, take your scissors and you're going to cut these into individual little pieces, okay? Each egg cell will create one little fire starter. Okay? So cut them up. I'm gonna take this lid off. Okay, I can save this for something else. In fact, I could probably use this as a tray. Okay. Cut these off. I mean, this is very much like my last video with the soap. It is a very pleasant smelling project, albeit not very neat. But that's okay. I mean, you think about it, not everything in life is going to be nice and tidy. Sometimes you just have to, you know, break a few eggs to make an omelet, as they say. They're kind of heavy, okay? There's no doubt about that. It's feeling, there's a lot of weight to it. Okay, I'm gonna get the rest of these cut up, and then we're gonna give it a test run. See how it looks, see how it goes. Alrighty. Let's move this andiron over a little bit. In fact, I'm just get this a little scrape out of the way. Gonna have to bag that ash up for the garden. Okay. Fire starter, lighter. All right, so the wax appears to, you know, it's catching nicely, but it's not burning as fast as it would if it were pure lint or just a plain old egg carton. Let me move you a little bit closer. Look at that. It's burning nice and slow. It smells pleasant too. Wow, it worked out really, really well. I'm so happy. Excellent. What I really like about these is that they are transportable too. You know, if you don't want to, you know, keep them in the egg tray like I probably will, you can throw these in a Ziploc bag and bring them on your camping trips or bring it down to the allotment during bonfire night, things like that. Easy peasy, completely free. And you think about how much money that you're going to be paying to buy fire starters or fat wood or anything like that. No need. Completely 100% free. I have to say, thank you very much, Mom, for the egg carton. I was going to go buy a dozen eggs. I don't really go through a lot of eggs myself personally, but I didn't have an egg container, but Mom did. So thanks, Mom. Yeah, so it's still going, guys. It's kind of pretty. And it's burning quite a long time too. Fabulous. It's been about 5 minutes since I lit it. Still going. I love it. Another great use for the candle wax is you can take scuffs out of your shoes, okay? And I have a boot here, one of my size 13s. So I've got some scuffing around the back, okay? So if you want to take the scuffs out, if you're not into that look, and or you wish to weatherproof your shoes, okay, from rain and snow and things like that, all you need to do is get yourself a little bit of oil, Okay, so this is like vegetable oil, canola oil, olive oil, whatever you got around the house. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to mix the oil. Okay, and it's equal parts. You're going to mix the oil, this is hot, with a little bit of wax. Okay, and it's going to kind of congeal. Okay, just to give you an idea, I'm just doing a little bit. Okay. It'll congeal because once it hits the coolness of the container and it hits the oil, the wax is going to start to cool down. Okay. Mix it in really, really well. I'm just using a little bit of paper towel here to get it mixed in. The oil is going to actually prevent it from sticking, which is nice. Okay. Now I'm going to take my oil and wax. Make sure that I scrape a little bit off here. And then I'm going to apply it to the boot. Now, for something like this, I probably wouldn't use a stinky oil like vegetable oil. I would probably use something that's non-scented. So you could use coconut oil, you could use soybean oil, something like that. Okay. And it makes a really cheap and nice way to get rid of the scuffs. Polish up the boots. Okay, and waterproof it. And I know all my fellow Buffalonians will attest to this. We have a problem with salt in the winter, okay? So when they lay salt down and everything like that, that tends to get all over our shoes. This is a great way to waterproof them. All right. I'm just going to take an old dish rag here and give it a wipe. Now you can give these a couple of buffs. What I'm just going to do is make sure that I get into every crack and cranny. Okay. Now, it looks rather kind of matte-ish, okay? There isn't any shine to it. You want it to get as dry as possible. And then what you can do is if you have a polishing brush, you can give it a nice buff. Okay? I'm going to get this all dried off and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, just giving this a buff. Just to bring out a little bit of the shine. Now these aren't shiny shoes to begin with, okay? They definitely have a matte finish to it, but it seems to me that we're getting a bit of a shine on it. So yeah, that worked pretty well. So, if you need a little shine to your shoes, a little candle wax and a little oil mixed together, and you're good to go. And it took all the scuffs out of it. So, pleased as punch, that worked out really, really well. Another interesting hack, I guess you would call it, is if you have zippers that you're having problems with. Now, I've got this black coat that I haven't really worn in a while, and I hope to not have to wear it anytime soon, although the weather did change to much colder. So this zipper it's made out of metal and it's constantly getting stuck on me, okay? Not easy to zipper up and down. So what you can do is you can take a little piece of candle wax. Now this is a little, I hate to use the word nub, but it's a nub. And notice that I'm using, it's a white, it's kind of a neutral. I wouldn't use any colored wax on this. And all you do is very gently rub the zipper with the wax. Okay? Now I'm just going to do a little bit of this. Get both sides of the teeth. Okay? Be careful not to rub any onto the actual coat. Okay? All right, now I'm going to do the other side. Very gently. Okay, it doesn't need a whole lot. Okay, let's see how that goes. And just go back and forth. Back and forth. Oh, look at that. Oh, that worked well. Okay, now I can totally see where I stopped doing it. So, wax on the zipper. Works really, really well. Give it a go. It really smells like a gift shop in here right now. Many different scents right now. It's a little much. Okay, another use for candle wax, and this also has to do with the actual, the dried wax, not anything that's melted. If you are a sewer, now this is something that has been tried and tested for years and years and years. If you are a sewer of any kind, or you use pins or needles, anything like that, you can actually, sometimes when you have pins that are ancient and they're kind of blunt and they don't easily go through your garments, okay? Just take your pin, okay? Stick it in the wax a couple times. Wax the tip, all right? Okay, it's kind of like a voodoo doll, isn't it? I'm just stabbing it. Get your inner frustrations out, okay? And with that, I'm just going to, well, let me see. Yeah, definitely slides easily through that. You could also, if you wanted to, use an old piece of candle, and you could use it as a pincushion if you don't have one. Okay? Works well. I think that the most obvious use for old candle wax, if you have enough of it, if you've collected enough of it over time, is to create a new candle. Okay? Super easy to do. So I've got this little jar here that I used to keep garam masala in, but it's got a lid on it. It's nice and sturdy, it's small. Okay, this will suit my needs perfectly. So for this, obviously you need the jar. This is where your chopstick is gonna come into, handy. And then all you need is a bit of old kitchen string, okay? Now, take your kitchen string and you're just going to kind of measure, get a general idea from bottom to top. And I like to just leave a little bit of string at the bottom, okay, as an anchor. All right, so roughly that much, okay? Now, obviously, if you have much more than you had planned on using, you could obviously snip the wick, but plain kitchen string works fine, okay? So, just grab my scissors here. I'm gonna cut it a little bit longer than the length that I want it, because I'm going to tie it to this chopstick. All right. Just gonna give it a knot. I will cut this off of the little bamboo cane here. Okay? So I'm gonna take this and I'm going to rest it over the top, just like this. Now, I think this might be a little bit long. We definitely want the wick to be as straight as possible as it's going in. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit of this off at the bottom here. little bit more. Perfect. Okay. Has a little bend at the bottom, but that doesn't make much of a difference. It will still burn evenly once it gets down to that lower part. Okay. I've got my wax paper, okay, on my plate, just to kind of, you know, keep it contained. Now, instead of using a hot pad, I'm just going to go ahead and use my oven mitt. All right. So the wax is still nice and hot. And then, whoops, what I want to do is as I'm pouring, I want to go as much over the wick as possible. Okay, you want to coat that wick as best as possible because that's what's going to make it burn nice and evenly, and it won't fry the string. Okay, there we go. Incidentally, if you can see right here, I did put down a piece of aluminum foil. You may want to do that too if you don't want to ruin your pan. Okay, get the wick where you want it. Mine is nice and centralized. Okay. So, you want to leave, obviously, a little bit of wick showing. Don't bury the wick completely in the wax because then you won't be able to light it. So this is going to cool for a bit. And once it's done cooling, we're going to have a brand new candle, which is wonderful. And guess what? Once that candle burns down and you end up with that tiny little you-know-what at the bottom, throw it on the stove, heat it up, pour it out on your wax paper, put it in your container. Don't let any of that go to waste. I've given this candle a little bit of time to solidify. I did throw it in the freezer so that I could get this, you know, shown to you in this video. You wouldn't have to wait until my next video to do it. But anyways, look at that. What a lovely color. Okay. And it took maybe about, I don't know, 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes in the freezer for this whole thing to get completely solidified. Take your scissors, trim the wick. Okay, you can see how it's nice and trimmed now. Free candle. So that's it for today's Make Do Mondays. I hope you enjoyed everything that I have shown you. I hope that you found it completely useful, and I'm looking forward to bringing you more content on Make Do Mondays. Once again, I think I may wait a couple of weeks before I bring you the next one. However, I think it's high time I start breaking into those old manuals that I've been collecting. Maybe I'll do something in the kitchen. Well, I am doing something in the kitchen. What am I talking about? But maybe I will cook something or bake something from that era using the ingredients, etc., etc. But until then, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you like, please consider subscribing, hit the thumbs up, notification bell, all that good stuff. And I will be back very, very soon. My next video is going to be my May tour, which will be coming out on Saturday. Take care, everybody, and I will see you all very, very soon. So long.